Welcome to the CWC Podcast with your host, David Selby, Justin Reed, and Andy Horton.
Hey guys,
How's it going, bud?
how are you? I'm good.
You had a good day today?
Hey, cheers to you guys. We're down here in Glen, Mississippi, hometown to Trent here, and about 180 years of a little family history.
That's right. Property's been in our family since early 1840s, and great-grandfather's place is right over there. This is my grandfather's, great-great-grandfather's right over there. Still all in the same name. It's just a place where Reggie always dreamed about bringing a race to.
Okay. Well, I've been fortunate for the last couple of days to be hanging out with you guys, and I'd probably be remiss if I didn't just go ahead and give you a formal introduction, kind of like we write it down. But we're out here, we're preparing for the Reggie Little Outlaw Race, a race by the racers, for the racers. To make it clear, the gates will be opening on Wednesday, the 30th of July at noon. The events will kick off on Thursday, July 31st, culminating with the Chuckwagon races, rodeo, and some good live music on Saturday and Sunday, August 2nd and 3rd. Welcome to Trent Little and Danny Wilson, also known as Danny Little. And yeah, we're just here to talk a little bit about the history of this deal, how this came to be. You're going to hear us discussing the Reggie Little Outlaw Race that's going to have its inaugural event here later this summer. And yeah, so tell me a little bit about what inspired you all to put this on, and maybe kind of some of the people that were involved with that.
Well, Reggie was basically the first to bring Chuckwagon east of the Mississippi. And this is where he always wanted to do a race. But, things didn't work out at the time. It just didn't happen. And ever since Reggie died, we've talked about doing a race in his honor. And things just never worked out. But we finally just put our nose to the grindstone and said, we're going to do it this year. And originally we had a different date picked out. It would have been later in October. But thank goodness it worked out like it did. I really like our date. It's not infringing on anybody. But this was what Reggie wanted to do, and we wanted to do it as close as we could to how he would have done it, or way we think he would have done it. Danny was Reggie's very best friend. He's a brother to all of us. And he said, yeah, we got to do it. We got to do it. And so we've been studying nothing much else since until we get this done. It's all consuming.
Yeah. Danny, backing it up to maybe
20 years ago.
20 years ago, what's your earliest memory with Reggie and with Chuckwagon racing? What was that like in your earliest memories with him?
I met Reggie probably 20 years ago down in Van Cleve, Mississippi. He was doing a hog band down there and never met the man. Called him up, asked him if we could come to the hog band or can we hunt. He said, yeah, come on. So we went down, spent a week down there with him and Ann and Rodney, and we all just got along. So we come back, and I was in touch with him all the time. And he called me and said, I'm putting a race on. So I drove from Georgia to Seven Springs, first race here put on.
What was that? How long ago was that?
10 years ago, maybe.
At least. Yeah, I was thinking maybe 2012 or 13.
Yeah.
Ann could tell us for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not positive about that.
And I said, I'm coming. So originally, I said, man, I want to do this. I want to do classic. That was my thing, but it took a long time to do classic.
Yeah. When did you actually end up doing the first race?
4 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
At Loretta's.
At Loretta's.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And were you flying under the Trump Train banner when you started, or what?
Yes.
That was.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was.
Okay.
And then everybody just kept coming aboard. Then I got to meet this man right here.
Yeah. Damn it. Yeah. Oh man, yeah, you guys have really grown. You've really grown your family of racers. It seems like. I mean, I feel like you guys will have like 30 people at some of these events.
Well, it's all because Danny. I mean, everybody pitches into health, but you don't have the same 3 people getting the glory all the time.
Mhm.
It's Danny prays it around. We've got enough teams. Everybody gets to participate. Everybody gets a stake in the action, and we work together better than any place I've ever worked where you paid people to work together. I mean, it's just everybody's a family. We love each other. We fight, we argue, but at the end of the day, we love each other and we got each other. That's all you want. And it comes together and we've got an anomaly. I mean, nobody's got what we got,
And
I would love to see more people have it.
And I had a guy come to me one time, probably a year and a half ago, and says, "Why do you not let people run your teams, do this and do that?" And I said, "Hey, I don't want to do it all myself. I want them to be a part of it. And if they're not a part of it, you ain't got much."
Right. I'd say Danny Whistle's probably been responsible for pulling more people into this than any other team out there, because like you said, any given Sunday, we may have 12 to 25 or 30 people in our camp. I mean, we had 13 camper spots for Trump Train at Loretta's video last year.
Yeah, and in these like association or outlaw races, you think about how many different divisions there are, and it's always cool to kind of know that you're going to hear Trump Train in pretty much all those divisions, if not all of them. And so like from the spectator side, when you don't know, you're not really familiar with the teams and stuff,
Right.
it's like you kind of just naturally start cheering for Trump Train. Because the name, the nature of the sport, but we're all on it.
Yeah.
But also because you keep hearing, whenever you hear something you can remember and you relate to it, then you kind of develop a fan base. And so I bet you could go to any of these events that in the last couple of years that if anybody's been there once, they're going to remember the name Trump Training. And so you kind of have a little bit of a legacy that you're starting to build with that. It's a little branded at this point, I feel like.
Absolutely.
So I guess it worked out good that the election went your way there.
We'd still be Trump Training.
Yeah, it don't matter. We was the last election, so
You would just have a worse attitude. Yeah, but up the other way, a little more chip on your shoulder. But we couldn't race those divisions of it without all the people pitching in and working together and helping, because I mean it's wide open. I mean, like at Sparkman the other busy when there were so few teams, and I mean it's like we were barely getting back for one. We were meeting each other coming out of the pits, and that makes the day go by and it keeps it exciting. And
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, everybody keeps hearing Trump Train.
Yeah, they do, and it gets the announcers excited too. They always have. I feel like they root you guys on too, because they got something fun to banter about too.
you're right, they do.
Speaking of silencers,
Well,
we may have a new one in mind for the race.
okay, so full disclosure, we were doing this exact thing about what time is it? It's about 2 p.m. We were in here a little over 12 hours ago, and we were having fellowship, and we were talking about the possibilities of what could happen at this first race. I think it's awesome that you guys are very you're very growth minded. You're like, let's do stuff that's different. Let's sandbox things that you can't really sandbox at an association race, because it has to be standardized across the whole season. If you do one thing, has to work everywhere, So I love that you guys have the attitude of like, for the racers, for the sport.
Right.
And
Try something different.
And youth.
and
youth.
yes,
Absolutely.
Youth is a big part.
I mean, without youth, I mean, in 10 years, this sport's gone. I mean, without these youngsters coming up, I mean, I say youth, I mean, even the teenagers, early 20s, I mean, these younger kids that got the strength and the stamina to do this, if they don't stay interested in it, it's going to die soon on the vine.
Yeah.
But you're right. I'm all for doing anything and everything that we possibly can to help promote new people get interested in this, primarily the youth. Love to see the youth in it. And we want to do everything we can to instill any safety factors that we can,
Right.
to keep it safe and keep it fun. Sure.
Yeah. And having seen the property and everything, I guess, would you call it the ranch?
Well, we've called it a
Farm.
ranch. We've called it a farm. It's actually a defunct farm. It hasn't been operational for anything other than hay production for the last 20, 25 years. But my grandfather was a dairy farmer. Um, but all my father and all my uncles were raised and worked right here as children.
And that's the old dairy barn, right?
That's the old dairy barn right out there. My father and uncle hauled the lumber that this house is built out of.
Well, getting kind of the essence of the property that we're on. I mean, classify it however you want. Farm.
Yeah, farm, I guess, is what we'd call it. I mean, we don't have any stock. I got a few head of horses, but we don't have cows at this point anymore. My uncle ran beef cattle up until, like I say, about 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And he got hurt, and I was working on the road, and so nobody really took an interest in it until I retired, and Haley and I moved in my grandmother and grandfather's house here, and kind of that's the deal I've got with my uncle and cousin who own all the property here. Is we pretty much are stewards of it. And he said, use it like it's yours, do whatever you want. And I said, I want to have a Chuckwagon race.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where we're at.
You said it, not me. No, that's awesome. Whenever you got in touch with me and you were telling me about what your thoughts were, yeah, it connected with me very quickly. I think you guys have an awesome vision for what you're trying to do here. And on the note of trying to do different things, I know we talked about several different things that you guys would do, that would be kind of sandboxing or doing it your own way or doing it a different way, not necessarily to spite anybody, but genuinely to continue to push the boundaries of
Absolutely.
what's a new and better way to do things.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, if we do something that works, we want to see other people implement it if it suits them. I mean, I'd love for this race to be a proving ground for things like that. I mean, I understand, like, looking at it from the point of view of the ACWRA, I don't envy them having to make rules and decisions, because when you make one, it affects an entire season.
Yeah.
And I think this would be a good place to, we're friends with them. We're on good terms with all of them, and had several ideas come from some of them, but we can try something here that they can't just implement overnight in a full season. And hey, if it works, they might want to look at that next year. And by the same token, we may change what we do to follow their model more,
And they're all behind us too.
Absolutely. They've been nothing but one.
Nothing but good.
Nothing but one.
Yeah. No, I think that the current regime, if you will, I think there's a lot of good eggs in there. I think, and I've been harping on that all year, and I think that the sport has a lot of good minds. I've got a lot of growth mindset type people, growth minded people, I should say. And it's exciting, and I try to stop and smell the roses, because it's like, to stop and think, like, I'm driving out to Glen, Mississippi. I'm from Southwest Missouri. I'm driving out here just because we're going to promote a race, a Chuckwagon race. How did this happen?
Exactly. It blows my mind how this sport brings people together, man.
Yeah.
And just like our Trump train group. I mean, we're from all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's just
4 different states.
And you can't wait to get to a race to see the people you saw there last, and it's just a great time of fellowship. I mean, sure, there's squabbles and quarrels here and there, but all in all, if any person out there has problems, any other person out there is going to come help them.
Right.
Just like at Clinton last year when we got our wagon exploded, when the runaway hit our wagon. But there was people I'd never seen before.
There was probably
surrounded us.
There was probably 15 people come unhooking, hooking back, and hooking and getting SWAT teams.
That's right. Got us another team on the.
We was there in 5 minutes.
The judge came over to say, "Hey, we're going to wait on you," and he didn't even have to.
Yeah,
we had people, like I said, we'd never even seen or known. We know them now, and glad to. But I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, regardless of how big a cuss fight you got in with somebody 30 minutes ago, if you have problems, they're going to come help you.
Yeah.
They might still be cussing me, but they're going to help you.
Yeah. No, it's really a beautiful thing. And I think that in a lot of places in the world, to have the culture that is in the Chuckwagon racing community, you almost have to set certain standards. You almost have to force it. But it's so neat that when you step into this world, into the Chuckwagon racing community, people are not nice because you're supposed to be nice and have manners. It's just genuinely how people are, and it rubs off on everybody. And I think it ultimately makes the world a better place that these events are going on, and so it makes me happy to see when someone starts another race and they have the youth in mind and they have the future in mind, and they want to continue, with these values and with the traditions that are there. And so kudos to you guys for what you're doing. I love it. So talk about a couple of things that somebody that might come to your race might see that's different, or what they can expect, versus going to another race.
Well, one thing that I think ties into what we were just talking about is the idea we've got to have the name to be determined for sure, but the introduction to Chuckwagon Clinic. We don't even know for sure how we're going to do that yet, but we're just going to try to make it accessible to anybody that's interested in getting started or just got questions about the rules. Maybe you're not looking at becoming a Chuckwagon racer, but you want to know what you're looking at, and you can take them through it an aspect at a time, show them what they're looking at. And if they got questions about getting involved, I mean, hey, this is where you need to go to get your harness. This is to make some wagons, and, just kind of put them on the right track to get involved and let them know what they're going to be looking at spending, or ballpark. That's maybe they don't want to know that yet.
But they might, they might not ever have the opportunity to ride a wagon.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're going to give people an opportunity if they want to experience the cook or drive or outride or what. Just give them that chance to ride the wagon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, and you just don't, you don't really see a break in the action at many of these races for something like that. A, for the educational aspect, but B, just to get people into a wagon. And when I think a lot of these ideas kind of come from the fact that everybody is starting to really think, how do we create something that's sustainable? Like, how do we sustain the sport? And it's been neat because it's kind of breeding innovation across the whole Chuckwagon racing realm, I think. And I hear it in different corners, and it's neat to hear, the idea to, how do we put it on display? How do we incorporate that and keep a production, make it part of it? I think part of it's doing a demonstration like you're talking about. Part of it is holding your announcers accountable to understanding what they're talking about too, because that varies from track to track. And so that's something we were talking about last night too. We were talking about sandboxing, announcer concepts. And I said, I got 2 ideas. So I go, here's the soft blow. What if we actually stream or live record the races and the announcers and that whole thing? And so we do that, but then we also say announcer A is announcing with the Chuckwagon channel more, maybe even a little bit more broadcast style, which would involve probably, are we dropping names on your potential prospects here for announcers, or do we want to wait on that?
Potential prospects, sure. Booger Brown has offered any support that we need from him. He's been super, a good friend. He and Reggie were great friends, and you can't thank him enough. But he has a contingency that he may have to, if he can make it. I think he's going to do his best to make it. And if he can, he said he'd be glad to step in the announcer's booth and bounce back and forth with whoever. He didn't want to be the primary announcer, but I think what we talked about would work great with him.
Yeah. Well, I threw myself on the line. You and he was something that it'd be fun to see, in a scenario where we are trying new things, trying to break the mold. It would be cool to see what we could do more on a broadcast mindset for a race, but also with the knowledge that I have from seeing so much Chuckwagon and capturing and telling those stories, it would be fun to kind of step up to the plate. I would love that challenge, but we'll keep talking about it. We're no guarantees, but
we're on board.
But
we're on board. I don't know about him.
Yeah. Well, it would. I like the concept. I love the concept of having somebody, and it's not like this is a totally new concept. You look at Clinton, you look at having 2 announcers doubling down on making sure we do that, but also bringing the, two aspects, right? So if you've got your fun guy that is really more, maybe he is your rodeo guy that is just good with working the crowd, telling the jokes, having that genuine response, actually somebody that's not been as deep in the Chuckwagon realm.
Yeah.
I think that's actually fun. And I think we've seen that with like Andy Stewart back in the day at Clinton. You'd just see how silly that guy would get. And he is like, he's at that really high caliber of
Top notch.
of, and that rodeo racing and stuff. And so to have somebody like Booger Brown and then to have somebody that just understands what's happening from the spectators' seat, and to make sure that we're paying attention to that and seeing it from that vantage point all the time, so he can have his reaction, then I can explain what's happening. And then there's other people that do that too. But where we're doing something that's new and fun and different, I think it could be a fun thing. So
the ability to keep it technically correct, that's go a long way, and going to fall into what people learn at, say, a clinic. That's what he's talking about. That's what they showed us. That's what's happening right now. And
we definitely don't know everything about the clinic, but we're going to learn with the people we're trying to teach.
Yeah.
We can learn with them too.
Yeah, that's right. Well, there's definitely a perspective when you run a camera and you have an editor's mindset. Everything that you hear being said, you're kind of hoping that for your edit later, for your retelling the story later, you're hoping certain things come out of people's mouths all the time, right? And so I think that would be kind of a fun thing to be on the mic, and be able to kind of narrate that with the end goal in mind all the time. I think that's a fun concept. So I'm excited to keep talking about that and see where that goes. And of course, it was only like midnight, so we're messaging people like Andy Horton, see if he can be there, see if they could be there to film and stuff. So that might come together. I think that'd be a really neat.
Andy, thanks for stepping up, Andy.
Yeah, thanks, Andy.
He liked Tough Train too.
Don't tell everybody.
Yeah, we got good people in the sport, but yeah, that's gonna be a neat deal. So talking about the way your track is set up, the way it kind of sits, could you kind of explain that for someone that's never seen the property before?
Okay, the track lays in about what do you think? It's about a 40-acre bottom, something like that.
Yeah.
A good flat
From one end to the other,
with a nice clean hillside on the north side of it, so spectators can be on the hillside,
overlooking
the track. We kind of got it set up where finish line is going to be dead center of the crowd, so starting line will be right in front of the announcers, and I think we're going to have it set up pretty good. It's going to be a flat track. It's going to be a grassy track. That time of the year, ground conditions should be great. Right now, we got a few mud holes out there, but you could hold a race there up there now, I'm sure.
but we like mud holes.
Danny Wilson likes mud holes. He'll find one.
He just wanted a soft place to land. That's all that.
He wants to take some of it home with him.
Yeah. So I love the way that it's set up down there. And this weekend I've been kind of tracking with you guys as you're working on the ranch and, or the farm, and down along that south side. So talk about how you specifically are kind of catering things to the racers, where they can go, where they can be, etc.
Okay, well, that bottom that we're talking about where the track's located, south side of that bottom runs alongside a creek, so it's shaded pretty much
The tree line all the way down.
all day, every day. We've installed, about 2,500 feet now of water line, 22 or 300.
2,200 feet, not counting the spurs.
Yeah, and so we're going to have about 30 hookups with double spigots at each one, and then we can run splitters off that. So 60 campers should be no problem, and we're doing that just for the racers. That's it. And the racers only will have access to that camp strip.
Yeah.
And there'll be trackside.
And the people that they need to come with them.
Right. Yeah, they're racers and their guests, because, just like Trump trains, we roll pretty deep sometimes.
And some of the others do too.
That's right.
So they need,
and it's good. And
they need more space.
that's starting to grow.
And all that.
We don't want to just sustain this. We want to propagate it. And
Right.
so that's one thing we're doing for racers only. That's going to be their private camping area, trackside, that to make themselves at home.
Yeah.
And
It won't be no no public people running in and out on them. It's all racers down there.
And racers should not ever have to carry to go get water. They should be able to reach water with less than 100 feet of water hose from anywhere down there.
Yeah, and I love that you guys have put in all that work down there, because I think that when you're traveling and you've got a camper, and I mean, really the main commodity you need, right, is you possess the water and livestock.
Yes, and that's the first thing we got to do when you roll up somewhere. You get your stock out and situated, then you go fill a tank with water. Got to go hunt water. And that's okay. At least there's water to hunt, I mean, but we want to make it as easy as we can for the people that make it possible,
Yeah, I love the attitude that you guys have about it. I think it's cool. I mean, it's not necessarily uncommon to see a racetrack owner that is a racer, but I think that anytime you start a race, or in your first couple of years, you're trying to figure out what makes you unique, what your identity is, what your priorities are. Very easy to get lost in the shuffle of spectators and advertisers and sponsors, and the fact that you guys are really focusing on the racer. I think I just I love that. And I'm not saying anybody is not focused on the racer at another track, but the fact that you guys have kind of chosen that as your number one priority,
Yes.
I think that's very inviting for the people that are in the sport. So, I will be very excited to see the turnout this year, and we're going to be doing everything we can to promote it. It's going to be a neat journey to be able to show, how we actually came out here before a race ever even started, and started capturing the story. And then, a story becomes a legacy. And so I hope that it's a long and prosperous and fruitful venture for you guys.
We're going to give it 100%.
We do as well. And I
Yep. We're going to give it 100%.
think Reggie be proud.
He would.
Yeah.
Ain't no doubt.
Danny, so thinking about, you were one of his close buddies, right? So what was the conversation about holding a race around here whenever you would have talked to him?
We talked about it quite a lot, and he wanted to do it, and we talked about doing it and this and that, but it just never happened until Trent, stepped in and made it happen. So, and I was tickled to death that he did, because Reggie always wanted it to happen.
Yeah. Well, cheers to that, guys.
Hey, man. One of my biggest regrets was that Reggie always tried to get me involved from the time he started.
There.
And I was working on the road. I worked in New Jersey, New York, Delaware, Maryland. I was a IBEW equipment operator, and I just never could take off to go to a race,
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first race, actually, I went to one race not long after he started. But the first race I ever really went to and stayed the whole race was his memorial race at Loretta's
In July.
And
Wasn't that 23?
I think that's right. And
2 years back? 23. Yeah.
Was it 23 or 22? 22 or 3. So that was really the first race I went and stayed the whole race, and I was hooked.
Yeah.
I mean, I was hooked. I fell in with his bunch.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Damn it.
Well, as you've said, this is your inheritance for your brother.
I feel like I inherited his best friend, and he's become one of my best friends. Apparently, he's not my best friend. He's my brother. I mean, he's just like,
We're just like family,
we all family.
and they all treat me like family. Every one of them.
Well, you are. Damn it.
That's why we call you Danny Little. It's a neat thing to see the dynamic.
A lot of history. A lot of history in the last 20 years.
Yeah. So kind of directing this at you, Danny, what was Reggie's legacy in Chuckwagon racing, would you say? How would you describe that? What was he to Chuckwagon racing? And I'd love to get your response on that too.
He was the granddaddy of Chuckwagon racing east of the Mississippi. I mean, he loved it. He loved the people. He had crowds that just was unreal that came. Biggest crowds of any besides Glen.
Well, I mean, just like Danny said, I think the one thing that we want to do as much like Reggie as we can is take care of the people. I mean, I've had vendors, I've spoken with several vendors. We've got some good vendors lined up, but it seems like the first ones who contacted me, every one of them said, hey, we were with Reggie from the beginning and we want to come back and be a part of this. And when I started reaching out to them, and I hadn't talked to all of them yet, but as I get opportunities, I'm calling these vendors and kind of introducing myself to them and getting a little backstory on how they knew Reggie, you know. And the first three I talked to, the stories were almost identical. Man, when we would pull up, Reggie took care of us. He took us right to our spot. Reggie never charged vendors, I don't think, or in the beginning he did. He may have gone.
I don't think he ever did.
I don't think he did.
He never did.
I think they just paid a general admission, which is what we're doing. I'm not charging vendors anything, just a normal admission like everybody else. But he, you know, God, they'd say Reggie would wait on us. He'd take us to our place, and then it's like, what else do you need? What can we do? And Racer's the same way, I think. I mean, he was known for introducing himself to every person that came through a gate.
Personally.
You know, personally. I mean, he knew them, or he made an effort to know them, made an effort to reach out to them, make them feel welcome, comfortable, and accommodate them in any way he could. And that's what we're going to do. I mean, we're going to accommodate, beginning with the racers and then going to our trail riders and vendors and campers. I mean, spectators, I'm not saying we're not going to cater to spectators, because spectators are where we got to have spectators.
Right.
But if we get everybody else happy and comfortable and making it affordable for them, making it easy for them, as easy as we can, the spectators will be there. I mean, you got no show without the racers.
Yeah.
And if we can make them happy and get them here, everything else will take care of itself.
Yeah.
I believe that.
And one other thing, we've got the original national anthem.
Yeah, we've had a lady that sang the national anthem.
Every time you had a race, we got her. She's coming, going to sing the national anthem.
Yeah.
And the flag.
That one of the flag bearers, little Georgia's going to be one of her flag bearers.
We're going to have a couple.
And maybe one for the rodeo and then one for the race. But I think Georgia wants to do some of it, and we're going to let her. And then, what was the lady's name that does the flag?
Julia Fisher.
I thought she sang.
No,
She does the flag. Kim Bryant. So
Kim Bright's going to sing the national anthem.
Right.
You kind of just not hit on rodeo. So talking about the things that are not Chuckwagon racing, what are kind of the other events and amenities and things that people can kind of expect to experience when they come?
Okay. Thursday, we're going to have an organized trail ride. We're still working on some horse trails.
But we've got a lot of them clean. We got probably 4 miles already cleaned out.
That's right. We did a lot of work on a creek crossing a couple of months ago, or a month or so ago, and it washed out in this last rain. But we're going to have an organized trail ride on Thursday. Thursday evening, hopefully it'll look something like karaoke and a DJ. And beginning Friday evening, we'll have a good live band. Well, back to Friday, during the day, we're going to do the Extreme Cowgirl. Miss Debbie Johnson's going to help us with that. She does a wonderful job with that. Those girls love her. Mm-hmm. And she's just, I mean, I don't know if you know her, but if you don't, you should. Mm-hmm. She's going to help with that, and we're going to try to make that all one day thing instead of taking it into 2 days. And maybe the rodeo for Friday night will be a continuation of the Extreme Cowgirl, doing their arena events after the field events on Friday, and probably some stuff for kids, as many fun things as we can think of to get kids involved. Maybe a greased pig or something like that.
Yeah.
But Friday night, we'll have the Derek Cole Band after the rodeo. And then Saturday, of course, will be Chuckwagon races. Saturday night will be a local band called Jack Lightning, and then Sunday races. Somewhere in that, we don't know where we're going to squeeze in the clinic yet, whether we'll do that on Friday or try to work it after the race or something.
Yeah.
Just kind of, we're going to look at what windows may come open there.
Probably Friday afternoon.
We're leaning toward Friday.
As far as teaching people about the race or about starting a team, or what's your vision there a little bit?
On the Chuckwagon Clinic?
Uh-huh.
Well, mainly one reason, probably twofold. One thing is to get people familiar with what they're looking at, familiar with the rules. It's just like if you're watching a ball game and you don't know the rules, it's not as entertaining for you.
Yeah.
So familiarize people with what's actually happening, what they're watching for, what they're looking at. And then on the backside of that, if people are interested in getting started or just have questions about how to get started, where to go, what to do, what is,
Or just gives them the thrill of getting a
or
ride.
if they just want to say, hey, I want to ride a wagon,
Yeah. If they're not interested in starting, just give them the opportunity to ride a wagon.
Yeah, absolutely.
If they want to, or drive a team.
Yeah, absolutely. And just find outfits for them. That might be the only seed it takes to get somebody hooked, and then they're going straight to whatever team.
Right. I don't know if I had said this to you or if I've just said this maybe at large, but if you think about how many tracks there are now, if everybody started gearing a little bit of their focus toward the educational aspect and the promotional aspect of actually participating as a racer, if every track came up with one team or two teams in a year, that would grow the sport drastically.
Right.
And we
a rookie class.
We're not claiming to know everything there is to know about chuckwagon racing, but we're just trying to put it out for people to get a taste of it.
We're willing to share what we know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And get somebody else at least on the right path.
Yeah.
Because the first time we ever raced, me and Timmy was at Loretta's, and
Excuse me.
the announcer said, "We need to give them guys a rule book." No, it hit Loretta's first time we ever raced, and then Timmy's first time we ever raced. We need to give them guys a rule book.
Because you hit every cone.
I thought you meant when you were whipping my plane.
Well, I learned that too. Yeah. That's first time we was out there. I learned that too. You can't whip at Clinton no matter what.
Yeah. Well,
So now if I go to a race, can I whip or not?
If you go to this one, you can. And with the clinic, we hope it's not just us trying to do this. We hope, and we're going to reach out to some other teams and see if we can have several teams represented, maybe down on the track at a time to help us, and I don't think that'll be any problem. I think there's plenty of people out there that'd be willing to help with that.
yeah. No, I think it's interesting. As you guys are speaking, it's going through my head, like, when do you want to have this so that it's the most beneficial to the most people? And so at first, I guess in my head, I was kind of thinking, well, what if you had something like that on Saturday before the race or as a pre-show, or, if there was a break in the action somewhere that, or maybe just early in the show that you say, well, let us just break this down for you. But the show could be long enough as is, and maybe it doesn't work so well. So maybe a pre-show, or maybe a little bit of both. If you did a full demonstration Friday evening,
Right.
but before the race starts.
They're just a race on Saturday.
Yeah, just like, all right, we're going to bring out a team, and maybe knowing what the race schedule looks like, maybe you bring out a classic wagon, and you could be Trump Train, and bring out your classic team, and we just demonstrate, hey, these are the general rules of chuckwagon racing. This is your driver.
Yeah.
And kind of a driver. and here's your cook. And talk about the roles, and then here's the outrider. Let's not underestimate the importance of the outrider,
Right.
guys.
Exactly. That you could do that immediately before the race on Saturday morning. Like first team out, like, hey guys, this is your cook. Couldn't raise your hand, hold your bedroll over your head. All right, cook's going to have this bedroll.
Yeah.
And same way with the outrider. That'd be great right before the race, because that's when everybody's looking and that's when they need to hear it. And then maybe on Friday, I know it kind of gets backwards, but on Friday, do the part where people would come and absolutely experience it.
Yeah.
Because, and the reason I say Friday,
There's a lot of people that would love to experience it.
oh, absolutely.
You never had the opportunity to do it.
And the reason I say Friday
And I've never had that opportunity to do it if I hadn't been Reggie.
Exactly. But the reason I say either Friday or Saturday after the race is because before the race on Saturday, there's so much going on, and it's hard enough to make it to the lines.
Yeah.
And there's Friday night involved.
Yeah. The short morning on Saturday.
Yeah, that's a short morning on Saturday. So, but we could do the involvement, interactive part on Friday, and then before the race Saturday, just a recap and explain the role of each and every member of the team, and talk about the teams and the wagons, what they got away, And they do that a lot, but it's not really interactive with the actual participants that you're talking about standing up and saying, hey, this is my bedroll and this is what we're going to do. This is how you got to be. Just basically showing the audience in mass what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tell you what, if you get, depending on how we end up with that whole layout, the way you're putting your stage and your announcer booth and the hill, I could see on Friday night when you talk about either if you've got a bunch of people at a rodeo arena or if you've got a bunch of people on the hill to see the concert, it might be a good place that everybody's gathered.
Yeah.
So yeah, before that show starts, hey, before we roll out the red carpet tomorrow for these races, we want to go see what's happening. But you guys know what's going on. We're going to plant that seed, that educational seed now, and we'll make sure that our announcers are reminding you throughout the day tomorrow of like what should really be happening. Because it's like, any sport that if you go and watch it, you don't know what the hell's going on.
Right. And that'd be a good place to have the announcer maybe at least present during that thing on Friday, where when he's talking about it, he just say, people, this is what we showed you yesterday.
Yeah.
And this is what we're talking about.
Just another touch point there to kind of help us sink in a little bit. I love that. I think that you guys are bringing a very fresh perspective on, what one of these events can be. I mean, what better time to do it than before you start your own event, to really sit back and like to break down every aspect of the weekend and not just make another race, but to make a race that's catered to, fitting all those things that you think are the most important. So,
and give spectators a chance to live it.
Yeah. And it'd be cool to see if some people get recruited into this deal. And I don't know how many youth they'll end up having, but that might also be another place in the action. I know the association this year, they've moved it to where the big mules in the classic come after the youth, so that people aren't jetting out before
The youth get done.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know why they had done that, but that's a great idea.
Yeah, to kind of keep people there and the youth get that big grand experience. Nobody's trying to pull out.
Yeah.
And depending on how many youth are out there, I don't know, maybe there's, with the way the youth is kind of laid back with the way they've started, with the rolling start, the straight track and everything, it might be interesting to see if on that Friday night you can recruit some kids into racing the next day or something, and absolutely. And for any youth that wants to ride in a wagon tomorrow, we've got a very stroke team that will be driven by a very sober Danny Wilson, and maybe not Danny then, but
I'm glad we got back on the youth.
So we had that same conversation the other day. Verbatim what you just said. We talked about this on the way back on the way to Sparkman, about the youth shouldn't necessarily have to come from a racing family to be able to race.
And that's the reason I've got to say this
Audience.
because I had this little girl come up to me last year, and she said, I am a Trump train fan. I want one of them shirts.
Yeah.
I mean, she's 8-year-old. So it took me forever to find a denim shirt to fit her. So I had one made for her and took it to her. And her mama called me and said, Riley's wanting to run 46. Beautiful truck train. I said, she's in.
I get half of all of her winnings. Okay. But
Hey, she got her first place. She got her first place buckle.
yeah.
A bigger smile has not been seen.
No.
That was fun.
And when we was out there at Sparkman, she come look me up, said, I've got to go see the Mills. So I said, we gotta ask your mom and daddy before I can take you,
Yeah.
And she went and said, sure. So she had to go see them 46 Mills that she was gonna run. She was not gonna let it go.
She family grows a little bigger all the time.
She was all about it.
She was all about it. She was one tickle young lady.
I'm excited about the prospect of getting kids. for lack of a better phrase, out of the audience. I mean, just kids that want to get involved or try it. I mean,
Well, it's kind of like when you have a rodeo and they do a boot toss or a calf flag or anything. All the kids come out on. So yeah, so we want to try to get the kids out just to experience the Chuckwagon race.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Finding those ways to do that without it being like cumbersome, like a nuisance or whatever, because there's the element of wanting to be able to relax and be entertained when you go to an event, but to also be able to participate in a way that is genuinely like fun, but memorable for the kids.
exactly.
And so, yeah, I think it's cool that you guys you're really turning a lot of focus to the youth. I think it's crucial. It's crucial, as you guys know, for the
Absolutely, the future. You got to plan it for next year. I mean, it's
We got to plan it for 10 years down the road.
That's the future.
or in today's case, there are a lot of people racing, making you money down there. Whenever he hangs it up, whatever that is.
Daddy's just grooming hands.
Hey, I'll never quit till I'm not able to.
Well, then we're gonna tie you in. Straight in.
Zip tie me.
So on that note, really important thing that I wanted to hit on was talking about the benefit piece of this all for the youth. You mentioned St. Jude's as a possible beneficiary of funds, but also maybe more near and dear for you on a local level. Was it Havis?
Havis's Kids, a local organization that does so much for some special needs kids. And I mean, from providing their daily needs to taking them to Disney World every 2 years. I mean, they take a huge group of kids to Disney World. And it's just an awesome thing for those kids that have no other smiles in their life except
That makes
that's what that brings to us. It's really special to us because we've actually been with them before, and it's
So back to
it's good to see that.
you were telling me that you went. How did that all happen, Ian?
The way that one of their fundraisers to take those kids to Disney was to sell chances to win tickets for a family of 4 to go to Disney. So Haley, my wife, bought one chance the first year they did it, and we won 4 tickets, rooms, everything, 4 tickets. We wanted to go with them. And I mean, some of these kids we're very blessed. Let's put it that way. We're very blessed. But to see the difference in them, and when they got there, and then you run into them in the park, and those kids don't smile like that much. It's a moment of happiness when they may not have much time left to live. So I know they've had kids that they've lost through there. But we started doing things to help them after that. My property down where the cabin is, the catfish ponds, we donated that to them for a couple of years to do fishing rodeos for their benefits. And wound up going with them one other time later on to Disney. But Mr. Havis Hurley, he died a few weeks ago. And we just want to try to do whatever we can to help them. And of course, an organization like St. Jude, we'd like to do something for them. But one thing we're really excited about is the Duncan booth. Yeah, the Duncan booth. And David Selby had an own thing.
He's got $100 bounty.
$100 bounty on David Selby for the Duncan booth.
Explain how the bounty works on the Duncan booth.
We're just kind of figuring this Duncan booth thing out. But what we're thinking is just give anybody the option to put a bounty on someone.
Mm-hmm.
Say I put $100 bounty on you, that means I'm going to give $100. And it can be a $20 bounty or $10 bounty or whatever.
But if you don't want to get in the Duncan booth, you got to pay.
You've got to mount it.
You got to match it if you don't want to go in it.
So I'll pay $100 to get you in the Duncan booth. You either get in the Duncan booth or you match the $100 to stay out of the Duncan booth. And then you got $1 a throw for whoever to dunk you.
$5. That's right.
$100. Who knows?
$5 a throw.
Yeah.
So
It is.
we're gonna have people lined in there before to get you.
Yeah. Sand throws facility. And for anybody that doesn't know what a dunking booth is, it's that old school thing that you've seen it. You've got someone sitting on a seat above a pool of water that's usually not heated. And
it's going to be ice.
So we're gonna have ice at
the ice water, and then you've got a target that's whatever 8 or 10 inches in diameter, and if you throw a softball or a baseball or whatever that is from 20 feet or so, if you hit it, it drops them into the water and they get.
And if they miss, guess what? Somebody's gonna be standing behind you.
I'm not counting or
Yeah, you're going to.
yeah. Which that's the best part is when you've got that person sitting in the Dunkin' booth just harassing people for not being able to hit the hit the target, and then that's where you really make your money is people start doubling down.
Right. But it's going to be August in Mississippi, and I think the Dunkin' booth, it won't be hard to get people in.
They'll probably warm
I
up.
think it's gonna be great.
Yeah, we were talking about having to keep ice in it, literally.
Yeah, you might. Maybe not though. Maybe you don't have to keep ice.
But that's one thing that we're going to do. The 100% of the proceeds from that are going to go to the ACWRA youth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we really hope that does well.
And I think
We're going to make
I
sure.
think since it's going to the ACWRA youth, I think people will participate.
I think they'll love it.
I think they will.
I think
I
they'll
think
love
they will.
Well, nothing drives fundraising like youth, and especially when there's a direct, tangible benefit. I think that when you present the Havis fundraising and the people are already familiar with St. Jude's, obviously, but yeah, I'm just so excited for that. I think it's cool, and hearing that your testimony, your experiences with helping youth, and that it's not just a checkbox for you guys to do these things, but it actually means something to you. Right? Danny loves being everybody's grandpa, and if he loves kids. We've seen it.
That's for sure.
He's Uncle Danny around here.
Yeah.
But as far as the other benefits go, we're going to try to approach that like from a silent auction for the Havis kids at St. Jude, and we've got a lot of good items donated already for a silent auction. I mean, some really good items.
Yeah,
Not a lot.
and I know that's what you expect. You don't always want to expose the people who are making these donations, but you can count on it. There will be some very good things that are going to be in that auction. It's honestly the auction alone, things that you may go home with may be worth the trip. That was something that I thought was interesting. It'll be well done.
And some of those donors have asked to remain anonymous. Some may be recognized regardless of but
We got. Yeah, it's unreal at the donations we've got.
it is. I mean, we've had a huge outpouring of offers to help, and I mean, from some places where we never would have expected it as well. And very thankful for that. Very thankful for that.
Yeah. Well, for as much as it's a new event, you guys aren't starting with zero experience, ground zero. You guys have experience. You've seen it done. You know people. I love that you both have been, even with myself, but I've seen it with other people too. I've seen you asking a lot of questions and trying to figure out how to cut the learning curve. I think that one thing that's really special about you guys is that you really try to figure out what you don't know, and not just lean into what you do know and plant your flag. You guys are actively trying to go and figure things out and do it the best possible way. I love that. And I see you investing blood, sweat, and tears out here on, with a little remedy from a little medicine to help you out along the way. But,
and we were so blessed with this property anyway, because it just lays perfect. And for all we're doing, it's still very little that has to be done to make it. We're just tweaking things. We're adding things, like I say, for the racers and stuff like that. But the property is, it's made for it.
It's laid out perfect.
It's made for it.
man, I just thought of a great slug line for you guys. A little can go a long ways. That's a great one. And, especially at a Reggie race, as we were talking about calling, a race that's having a Reggie race.
Yeah.
But man, a little can go a long ways. Throw that on your t-shirt. That'd be a cool one. That's maybe a little bit.
Yep.
You probably don't love it because I know you don't like to just be the center of attention, but no, it's cool. You guys have have really got something awesome going here. Is there anything else that you can think of that you want to kind of make people aware of, going into this first event? Anything that they could expect? I know there's going to be shower houses. There's going to be access to water. Certain places, some electricity, but it'll be, a little, as far as electricity, you're probably bringing your generators, you're probably,
It's most of it's going to be primitive. It's on power.
Pretty much all going to be primitive on power. Like I say, the racers will have immediate access to water. There'll be other water fill stations for campers and trail riders and stuff like that. But the racers who'll have the track to themselves shouldn't have to carry water anywhere.
And if they need water, we'll
get it to
provide to them.
We'll get it to them. Yeah, we'll have a tank that's at least available to use if you don't have a tank, and we'll also have somebody going around, hey, you need some water, especially for stock after race time when they really need to get some water, And another thing, I want to talk about how easy we are to get to. I mean, you're going to pass right by us if you're coming to Tuscumbia from the west, and we're 3 miles off Highway 72, maybe 4 miles, 3.5 miles.
Yeah.
And easy access for trucks, trailers. You can get 18-wheelers in here. I don't think logistically we're sitting in almost as good a situation as we are the way the lay of the land is. It's just made for it.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful setup. I know you explained it to me, and you tried to show me some video clips from your phone before I came out here, but then getting out here, you guys,
It's so different.
As soon as I rolled in yesterday evening, my first experience was, hey, where you guys at? We're coming to get you right now. These two roll up, clearly had been enjoying the day already. These guys roll up. We all squeeze into the side-by-side. They give me a beer. We just immediately went out. You guys drove me around. You drove me around the property, gave me the full tour. It was awesome, and got the GoPro out, got the drone out, got to really just see it. Honestly, it was raining when I showed up, but there's something about like just after the rain, it's always like the most beautiful, late in the day, and it was just like, it was actually kind of like this kind of cool gateway moment for me, because it was very captivating. Your land is beautiful, and I think people are going to love it, especially the way it's set up, for an August race where you want to be in the shade, where you want water access. You guys are putting people first. I just think it's going to be a success, and I think with the mindset that you guys have, it's just something that's only going to grow, and I think it's going to be a great tribute to your brother, and so yeah, I commend you guys on what you're doing, and I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it all the way.
We're glad to have you, man. It's and we can't say how much we appreciate what you've done for this sport, man, because
Many people do.
Yeah. You're doing something that has to be done. It's so good for the track owners and the education aspect of the sport.
And the racers, spectators, and the
Racer,
does
everybody loves it.
He does it for all of them.
Everybody loves it.
Oh, I guess you're welcome. You're welcome. No, I do it because I love it too.
And it's easy to see, and that makes you do a good job at it.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. But so last notes here. I'll read it just like I said it before. Gates open Wednesday, July 30th at noon. Event kicks off Thursday, July 31st, culminating with the Chuckwagon races, rodeo, live music, and a great demonstration.
And we'll have a birthday party on the 31st.
Okay.
Danny Wilson.
I'd say that actually, I'll probably, just because of that. Yeah. You don't even have to pay me to be here on Thursday. I'll be here for that. But yeah, there's just so many good things powering this event. The right people, there's a team aspect to this. It just checks all the boxes. It has all those elements, if you will, something that really can't fail, in my opinion. So,
and I do want to say that we probably had 15 race teams that has reached out to us.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Not only to say that they're coming, but to say, hey, we'll come early and help with anything that you need. And buddy, I'd say that
means a lot.
That means so much. It means so much. And like I said, some of those offers came from where you'd least expect.
Yep.
And,
for sure.
And it's humbling, and It's
And we appreciate every one of them that's called and reached out to us.
that's right.
Yeah. Well, I think there's room for anybody that wants to get involved.
Absolutely.
So again, cheers to Reggie Little,
To Reggie.
Hook and bull.
Looking bull.
and the Reggie Little Outlaw Race coming first weekend of August 2025.
See you there.
It's going to be great.
Thanks for listening to the CWC podcast.